how to deal with your physical flaws. So I'm going to break down this video into two parts. Essentially, flaws that you can't control, and then flaws that you have control over. Because there's not much you can do with the first kind of flaw, which is something that you inherently got from your genetics, or even from events out of your control. Now, I'm going to tell a story of myself. So if you ever noticed that my teeth, there's like 2 white dots right there. So, which is funny. I say this because not many people actually mention or ask the origin of the 2 teeth. Actually, the only time someone actually has asked about it, straight up, because sometimes they're very indirect about it because I mentioned about it, was actually a kid that was in grade 5. Right now, like, I go to church, he's like in grade 5, just came up, he's like, what's with those 2 white dots? And again, they're just kids, they're very curious and they don't give a fuck, really. So, in a good way, because like, that's the sort of kind of mentality you want to have in life, where life is too short, who cares? And basically, I've had this since, probably since I was, I can't remember, since I was 5 maybe. I've had it for so long that I can't really remember. The story behind it was, I think, again, this could be like all false, this could have been like a figment of my imagination, but from what I understand is when I was in Indonesia as a young kid, when I was 5, I think my mother, my brother, and myself, I think either we accidentally drank the tap water, we ate something, so we were hospitalized. And from that, I couldn't remember much of it. I only remember it was the first time I ever ate a banana, which is, again, strange. I remember these arbitrary details. And the medicine that they gave us, or gave me particularly, affected my teeth. So now I have these 2 white dots. And I remember as well, in grade 5, when dentistry was like free for primary school kids, they gave me the opportunity to whiten my teeth for absolutely free. And I said no. Like, hear me out. I was never really insecure about my 2 white dot teeth because I never emphasized it. I never made a big deal out of it. In fact, I don't let it stop me from actually smiling. As you can, like, you'd expect a kid to have 2 obviously blatant flaws when he smiles, that he would not smile, that he would try to hide it. But instead, it's not that I don't care, it's just that I just never think about it. I've never thought about it, so it just doesn't stop me from being myself. And I just, whenever I see myself in the mirror, it's just a part, like, maybe I will get it whitened, because again, not that it looks annoying, like, I don't really care, it's just, I'm just thinking about, like, business profiles, and it's like, why haven't you whitened your teeth? You probably look better if you whiten your teeth. Like, yeah, but I don't care, like, we'll see. But that's another thing. Again, this isn't going to be a video of me mentioning all my flaws and then saying how I don't care about them. It's just that you shouldn't make such a big deal out of it. Like, if there's like a mole, like there's moles on my face, there's complexions on my face, there's even a red spot here. Like, I'll mention it in the second half because that was something I could have controlled, but something you can't control. Like, why worry about something you have no control over? And in fact, the reason why we care so much about our flaws is how others perceive us because of them. Now, I can remember particularly in high school, like, because we had grade 7 to 9 were the juniors, and then the grade 10s to 12s were the seniors. Sometimes if you like picked at your face, like, there would be like a red dot, and then kids would just mention it all the time. Like, I remember grade 7, grade 8, grade 9, but once you turn into the senior, if you have any like acne, any spots, any blemishes, no one mentions it. No one cared. Like, I think the reason why no one will mention your flaw, because everyone else has the same flaw going through puberty. And also, it's quite selfish to think that people care about how we look. Like, sure, they'll think about the spot we have or the flaw we have on our face or our body for like 2 seconds, and then they go back to caring about themselves. It's called the spotlight effect. So I think it's a psychological effect where we think all eyes are on us because we perceive reality through our own eyes. So everything that happens through our experience of it. And so so I'm gonna put it in a story analogy. If we're the narrator and the character, we think we are the main character. Like, we can't live someone else's own life and have a bigger perspective. We just have to think not all eyes are on us all the time, because truly the only person that people care about are themselves. So that's another way of realizing and stop caring for your flaws, is realizing people care more about them than you. That's why I say it's selfish, because if you think it's the other way around, not narcissistic, I don't want to say narcissistic because that becomes like a borderline, like, mental problem, but just thinking, like, really, you really think people care more about you than them? Like, I don't want to sound mean, but like put that into perspective. So perhaps having that thought process, you might be able to stop thinking about your flaws, or the flaws you can't control. Now to the flaws you can control. Probably the reason why I made this video is because a flaw of mine, or like even physical flaws, I can even mention like character traits. Like, I have a bad habit of like picking my face, like you can see. I think the reason why, like I think I was looking up how to stop doing it. It's just my brain has dopamine whenever I squeeze my paw to see the skin oil come out. Like, I know it's so stupid. It's so stupid to do it, because like it just leaves a really red blemish. But then I'm like thinking to myself, I should have had self-control, but also I only care about other people's perception of me because I didn't have the discipline to not touch it. Essentially, that's how I deal with the flaws that I can control. Because it's realizing that as a human, we all have our flaws. Like, I think I learned this concept from a dating book, Mark Manson, called Models. How to attract through honesty. And essentially it's realizing we're actually attracted to other people's flaws, like platonically and romantically. It's just realizing people's rough edges is what we are drawn to, because I think if someone's completely perfect, they're predictable. But if someone is flawed, there's something interesting, there's something to work out. Like, I think I mentioned Jordan Peterson when he was talking about relationships. You want to have like your flaws as a bite that provokes the curiosity of your partner. Again, I say this in a romantic context. You can put this in a friendship context even. Because in a flaw for your fellow friend, you can try and think, why are they like that? How can I help? All that. But with the flaws that we can control, I also mentioned this, is because like I used to be, I reckon, chubby as a kid. Like back in grade 7, I was really self-aware. I could remember I had like man boobs in grade 7. And then grade 8, I think after I hit a growth spurt, it went away. But with something like your weight, you have control over. You can stop eating junk food. You can start exercising. Like even the spot I could have not picked at it. I could have applied a skincare routine, or even eat healthier foods to support my skin. Like these things that you can control, if you can, why not? Don't blame, or don't, self-pity I call it. It's like being a self-victim. It's like you're fat and then, it sounds so bad. You're fat and then you're complaining that other people make fun of you. This does sound really bad. Like, again, that's another thing I want to try and explore, probably in another video, about why mentioning someone who's fat, like it's factual, like you are fat and obese, why it sounds so mean compared to like telling someone you're short or someone you're tall or you're wide, thin, you're Asian, black, white, like what, why is it when it comes to weight, when it comes to something we can control, we stray away from it? Again, the reason why I split this video up in two is because I want to mention that, because when I was chubby, again, I got the growth spurt, but then in grade 10, I started working out because I knew I can control how I looked, my physique, even mewing can, I want to make a glow, like a, sort of like a glow up guide for another video idea. But if you can control it, because you know what to do, truly, you know deep down what to do. You just don't want to do it because it's hard. And nothing worthwhile is easy. So if you want to have that physique, if you want to not pick at your face like me, you have control over it. So simply making the decision, a promise to yourself even, to think of yourself, think who you can become, and then single-mindedly aim for it. So that's sort of like a broad perspective of how to deal with your flaws. It's just accepting the fact that as humans, we are always flawed. We always come with our flaws. And then flaws that we can't control, like our genetics. It's like, why worry about something you can't control? Then the flaws that you can control, why not try and put in the effort if you do have control over it? To go to the gym, to eat healthier, to not pick at your face, to learn how to communicate, to learn how to be attractive, to learn how to dress, to learn how to do a skill, to learn how to do anything. Because simply, the gap between your current you, who's flawed, to the version of you you dream and aspire to be, the gap is a gap of ignorance. Simply not knowing, actually either not doing or not having the knowledge to execute. But I think most of the time people know what to do, it's just that they don't want to do it. So you have to make the decision of whether to deal with your flaws and to accept the flaws you have no control over. So, I hope this video helps.